Hi, I'm Jack Grimmer at Wycombe Wanderers, and you're listening to Wycombe Sound.
The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome to episode 41, did you say?
Yes.
41. The final Wycombe Wanderers episode of the season. Don't be sad. We'll be back next year. Or this year. It'll be this year. Next season, though. Or something. Lots to bring you in the next hour. Of course, we'll be reflecting on that 2-2 draw at Portsmouth on Sunday. We'll get some behind-the-scenes news as well. Also some haunting sounds as well, occasionally. Also, we'll be hearing from Phil shortly. He'll be bringing us our match debrief and also season debrief as well. We'll hear from Matt Bloomfield, the manager. You're probably well aware of who he is. Also, not only talking about that game, but also the ins and outs in terms of contract talks from this week as well. We'll hear the latest from the dressing room from Jack Grimmer. Looking forward to catching up with him. And also, we've got a compilation of some of the, or actually all of the ex-players, I think I haven't missed any, who we've spoken to throughout the season. Brilliant collection of different generations of players who I think you'll really enjoy hearing from, and what really encapsulates what's special about the club, and also, of course, the Ex-Players Association as well. Very grateful to JDT and to Alan and to John Bignell and the rest of the team as well, who've been brilliant to work with this season, putting together the brilliant chats that we've had. Also, of course, the work with the Warm Hub. I've got lots of people to thank a bit later on as well, but that's to come. We'll also chat to two members of Wycombe Wanderers Women's Under 18, Sonny the coach and Georgina the captain, who are preparing for their League Cup final on Saturday. Wish you all the best for that. We'll be revealing our predictions, which have been in a sealed envelope for, well, literally since July, turning up at the edges. Very well stuck down as well. Not sure how we're going to get into it, but you'll be finding out that. We'll also be other reflections on the season as well, looking back on what's been a fantastic. I've used the word fantastic a lot this season, but it has been fantastic. It's been brilliant to do the show. It's been brilliant to bring you interviews and match highlights, which would be a good place to start, because we've had our first full season of bringing you live commentary from the games. We'll be chatting to Luke a bit about that shortly. But first, let's relive what happened at Fratton Park on Sunday.
Welcome to Fratton Park, final day of the season. 12 o'clock kickoff on a Sunday. Love it, bring it on. Wins a big battle on the edge of the area, finds Wheeler, and now McCarthy's in space. McCarthy on his way now into the Pompey half, urged on by the Wycombe crowd. Lays it infield to DeBar. DeBar sets it back to Wheeler. Here's Vokes edge of the area. Vokes goes for goal. Charged down by Bernardo, now wing. Out to McCleary. Decent attack from the Chairboys now. McCleary's inside the box. Goes for goal. Good save by the keeper. Got down low, big hand, palms it away. There we are, modern football at its very best here. The keeper passing around with his centre-back, and is now put under pressure by TJ DeBar and gives the ball away. Modern football. Gareth McCleary inside the area, goes for goal and scores! Have some of that passing from the back. Wycombe Wanderers get the ball and slam it into the bottom corner of the net. And they don't teach you that in the coaching manual, do they? It's Portsmouth 0, Wycombe Wanderers 1. Gareth McCleary with his 7th of the season. Corner again from Pompey, right hand side. Jacobs with it into the near post this time, and it's there. Marlon Pack gets across his man and heads the ball into the bottom corner. The warning came from the corner before. It was a different delivery, but this time the header found the back of the net, and it's Pompey 1, Wycombe 1. Pack wrestles over DeBar and he's gone down again, clutching his face. Wing goes for goal and scores. What a goal from Lewis Wing. We've waited a while for a Wing thunderbolt, and it was well worth the wait. The ball sat into midfield, it sat up, he looked to see where the keeper was, and Wingy's just put his right boot through it, and the keeper caught off his line, and the Spanish are up behind the goal, as do the faithful from South Bucks 2. It's Portsmouth 1, Wycombe 2. What a goal. Throw in to Pompey, Connor Ogilvie to take. Subs coming up just before the hour mark here. 2-1 to Wycombe Wanderers. Lewis Wing, the goal scorer, goes over the top to Vokes, who heads it down to Freeman. Freeman on the volley, beaten away by the keeper again. Sam Vokes just chests the ball down, but he's limping a bit here, Sam Vokes. Ball nodded down by Bishop to Pickett, left hand side. Cross comes in, Jacobson, the back post, and it's there. Jacobson couldn't clear, and it's headed home by Paddy Lane. Poor defending from Wycombe Wanderers, and Pompey have found their equaliser. Pompey 2, Wycombe 2. Cross came from that left hand side. Jacobson missed the clearance, and Lane stooped to head it past Striek. Connor Ogilvie's continuing to stretch out his calf muscles here. He has covered a lot of distance up and down that left-hand side. And there goes the final whistle. That's the end of the season. Wycombe Wanderers finishing on a draw at Pompey. They finished 9th in the table, their 5th highest finish in the club's history. Couldn't find the winning goal this afternoon, Matt, but off the back of last week's performance, a much improved display from the Chairboys.
Yeah, a lot to take away from that one. Good going forwards at various spells in the game, but also having to dig in when Portsmouth were getting on top, probably on the balance of play and with the chances created. Pompey will feel aggrieved not to have won it. I think Ogilvy's had 5 or 6 really good opportunities breaking in from deep. Max Strick's made some excellent saves, but Wycombe always carried a threat, and plenty for Matt to dissect, not just from this game but from the season as a whole. A lot of work to be done over the summer. We want to come back as strong as we can when things get back underway in training in July and when the games kick off in August. So overall, look, a good 90 minutes from the boys, finishing on a pleasing note of a good performance against a strong Portsmouth side. Let's go away and give everything this summer to improve the club on and off the pitch and see what we can offer our fans when the new season gets underway.
Wycombe fans heading across, and the staff as well, heading over to the away end to applaud the travelling support, not just for today, week in, week out, up and down the motorways, those travelling fans. All clubs have them, and Wycombe Wanderers are no exception to that. And there's several shirts being thrown into those arms as well by the Wycombe players. It's been a season of twists and turns, of major news, of player retirements, of sales, of comings and goings, and it finishes with Wycombe 9th in the table, looking ahead now to a proper off-season break, a proper pre-season, and back at it again next season. For everyone that's been there this season, be it on Wanderers TV, Adams Park, or away from home, we thank you very much indeed, and we'll leave you with news from Burton. Burton 0, MK Dons 0, full-time score. If you're in the business of selling tiny violins in High Wycombe, you're going to have a busy week. Thank you for everything this season, everybody. We'll see you next time. Stay tuned to Wanderers TV over the summer. We've got loads more content to come before it all kicks off again. Have a great summer, take care, and see you soon.
Excellent wrap up to some brilliant coverage of and live commentary of Wycombe Wanderers games home and away this season, both on Wanderers TV and on Wycombe Sound, of course. Your commentary team for Sunday being Matt Cecil, apologies, who we were very grateful to for his assistance throughout the season, of course, but more on that later. And also Phil Catchpole, who we can hear from now, reflecting on events throughout the season. But first, Fratton Park.
Yeah, it was a really good game and a really good day, actually, really lovely day. Sun was out, had that proper end of season vibe about it. The early kickoff on a Sunday as well didn't dampen it at all. And for two teams who essentially didn't really have anything to play for in terms of playoffs or anything else like that, it was an excellent game. 18,000 people there, and two teams that wanted to finish the season on a high. From a Wycombe point of view, it was a really important game as well, because the week before, I thought they were the worst we've probably been over the season. The last home game, and it felt very flat after that. So the boys needed to give the fans something to go into the summer with, and they did that. I thought, as a game, it was very good. The second goal, especially from Lewis Wing, was absolutely fantastic. And to do that at a ground like Fratton Park was great as well. And to have the Spanish fans there too, adding their atmosphere. And the away end was absolutely bouncing. It was good to see. It had that kind of, as I said earlier, that last day of the season feel about it. But yeah, it was a very positive experience overall, and hopefully a bit of a bounce into the summer. But after the game, speaking to the manager, Matt Bloomfield, I think he was pleased to see the response from the players from the week before.
Yeah, I think it was. I asked the boys for a response to the disappointment of last week, and I don't think they really needed me to ask for it. I felt it during the week, the way they've trained. I think they demanded it off each other. There's lots of disappointment and plenty of anger after the final whistle last week, so we wanted to put that right. We know that there was 900 fans travelling down and spending their hard-earned money to come and watch us, and we wanted to make sure that we left on a positive to take that momentum into the summer. So I'm pleased that we responded in the way we did and performed the way we did.
How important was it to have that momentum into the summer now?
I thought it was really important. I've spoken about it a lot to the players during the week. I've spoken about it a lot in terms of, the pre-season build-up started today. We wanted to go in with a good performance, which I think we did. We wanted to go in with a win, which, unfortunately didn't quite come. We got a draw, which on the balance of play and chances, I think was a fair result. So no arguments from us on that. We could have had a winner at the end there, which we think was probably onside, but this is football. There's plenty of moments that go for you and against you, and that's the roller coaster we all love. So it's nice to think that we had a good performance today. Showed a fairly good attacking threat, I thought, throughout the afternoon, and we take that point and we try and use that momentum moving forward.
And there was a real intensity in the game from both sides. This wasn't an end of season dead rubber, was it?
No, we spoke about it again. We've spoken about it a lot during the week. I didn't want to come here and just play out a boring 0-0 and everyone off on their holidays. That's not how we wanted to finish. We wanted to show the intent. We needed to show that to our supporters, that last week's result hurt us. We needed to show them our intent. So that is our responsibility to do that, and I thought the boys did that.
And looking now into the summer, it's a proper break for Wycombe Wanderers, something that's a bit unusual for the club over the last few years. Yeah,
most certainly so. We've usually had the relegation from the Championship or a playoff campaign or a playoff final as in the last few years. It's very rare that we have this finish, but I think we need to take that as a positive, that we can plan and prepare. There's lots of conversations that need to be had, and we're excited about what the future can bring for this football club. It's a special place. The Couhigs done, Rob, Missy and Pete have done an incredible job since they've taken over just pre-pandemic, and the gaffer before did an incredible job over 10 years. It was an amazing achievement for him. So it's nice to recognise all that, but it's also nice for us to stand on our own 2 feet and implement what we want to do, and we're looking forward to trying to do that.
And for you personally as well, coming in at the point you did, it was almost like boarding a train while it was still moving. A time to reflect now as well and plan for yourself and your philosophy.
Yeah, it's certainly so, Phil. I think it's been an emotional rollercoaster this season, hasn't it? It started off on the coaching staff, moved to Colchester and then coming back again. So yeah, it's been an amazing season. I think there's plenty of positives that we have to take, but we have to be really critical of ourselves, most certainly. I have to be critical of myself first and foremost, because if I can't do it, then how can I expect my staff and my players to do it? So that's the way I live my life. I've got to be critical of myself, reflect and make sure we're better moving forward, and I know that we will be.
Growth mentality?
It has to be. It's how I've lived, how I've been as a football club for a while. I think through my 20s I didn't have that, but once I reached an age where retirement was looming, I really went on a bit of a personal journey in terms of having that growth mentality. So first and foremost, you have to look in the mirror and have to assess and reassess everything you do, how you conduct yourself, your decisions along the way, what you want to do moving forward, and that certainly has to start with myself. But I have clarity in my thoughts in terms of how I want to move us forward with my staff. I think we have clarity in our plans, and it's up to us now to go and implement that.
And what's your final message to all the Wycombe fans, wherever they are in the world today?
It just has to be a real sincere thanks and gratitude from me and my staff towards our supporters. They've stuck with us through thick and thin over a number of years now. I'd like to think that they know that we're on a bit of a journey, a bit of a project. Coming to change a manager who's been in for so long was always going to be a little bit clunky at times, but we've tried to do it the best we possibly can. So thank you for them for their continued support. Enjoy their well-earned break from travelling up and down the country supporting us, and like I say, we're looking forward to being arm in arm with them come pre-season time, and looking forward to keep moving our football club forward.
Listening to the manager there's a real sense, isn't there, I think, going forward as well, of real excitement and optimism.
Yes, I think it's been a difficult situation for the manager to come into when the stage of the season that he did, and he's clearly got his own ideas and what he wants to do, and now he's got a proper break, off-season break and pre-season to build his squad, to work with the players, to get his philosophy across, which I thought was very difficult to do, and I don't think he wanted to do that entirely during the season, but now he's got that opportunity for that clean break and to really get his way under, the Bloomfield era up and running fully. So I think he's looking at some changes both in the squad and also externally as well, some sort of other changes perhaps around the place. So we shall see what happens in the coming weeks. It is the off season. I said there'll be people having a break, but I don't think Matt Bloomfield's going to be doing too much resting. He's got quite a bit of business to do, I think. And as this time of year now, we've seen a lot of other clubs announcing their retained and release lists, and Wycombe are no exception to that. And information came out of Adams Park yesterday about players that were leaving, and it was good to chat to Matt Bloomfield about that too.
A couple of tough days, lots of meetings. It wasn't easy. There's been some some tough conversations to be had. Unfortunately, this time of year it's happening at every football club up and down the country. I've sat on the other side of the desk, and it's not an easy day. So some tough conversations, but I think for us to move forward, there were conversations that had to be had.
You know what it's like on the other side of the desk, I guess.
Yeah, of course. I've had a few times over the year where you go out of contract and you don't know whether something's coming or not, and try and negotiate what's best for the future for yourself and your family. And it's there's a real human element, I think, to this time of the year where you really kind of feel the responsibility of people, their livelihoods and their families and stuff. But my responsibility is to my job and this football club, and like I say, the game, the industry we're involved in. There's some tough decisions to be made and some tough conversations to be had. They're not always easy, but they have to happen.
And looking at some of the guys that are leaving, start with Nick Freeman, a long-serving member of the squad. Yeah,
real long-serving member of the squad. Nick's been in and out of the team, and that was kind of behind his decision to look for regular football elsewhere. We've discussed a contract with him, but he's decided that he's got a big desire to be a first-team regular, and he didn't see that happening here, and it hasn't happened. So I'm sure he won't mind me saying that. He said his decision was made with a really heavy heart. He's loved being here, but he's decided that he wants to look to be a first team regular, and that's fine. I totally understand it. At his age, he's in that peak age bracket, and he wants to be on the team sheet every week, which is something that hasn't happened for him here.
And also the end of Curtis Thompson's time at Adams Park too.
Yeah, Kurt's been a big player for us, hasn't he, for a number of years as well. Really struggled with injury, unfortunately, over this last sort of year and a bit, and hasn't quite been able to get himself going. But Kurt's been a really big player for us, a big personality. Again, someone I shared the dressing room with. I actually lived with him for a little while in the house when during COVID and bits and pieces. So he's someone who's a real tough character, Kurt. He's a real good guy. He's been a central part of a lot of the years under the gaffer, and he was big, but unfortunately hasn't been fit for a lot of the time that I've been here. And again, it's with a heavy heart that we see him leave.
And Lewis Wing deciding to end his time at Adams Park, and does so after scoring a goal of the season contender on the final day. Yeah, what a way to sign out for Wingy. I think that everyone understands that he's got aspirations to play at a higher level, and he feels like he can do that, and that's understandable. I think he's had a great season. One of the risks of him coming out of contract was that he would have those aspirations, which is fine. I think the world of Wingy. I think he's a very, very good player. He's obviously got real big quality about him, and which he kind of epitomised on Sunday with that goal. So we'll keep in regular contact, I'm sure, and we wish him all the best. And other players that we've had in the first team this year: Daryl Horgan, Jordan Willis, and Tyler Dickinson too. Yeah, Horgy, I think, is an absolute diamond. He's got a real drive about him, Horgy. He's found himself out on loan this year at Stevenage and helped them get over the line in their promotion. Jordan Willis is just a great guy, great individual, a real leader, the kind of guy that you want around and about. So we're really sorry to see him leave. And Tyler as well has obviously been on loan at Sutton, but did really well at the start of the season. But like I said, all those guys are really sad to see them leave. But football does have to go under an evolution at times, and we feel like the time is right here to do that. And leaves gaps in the squad, obviously, so fans will be excited to see the incoming gift coming out on social media at some point in the next month or so. Yeah, I hope they are excited. I'm certainly excited. We're working hard in the background. Obviously there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of research to do on players, potentials coming in. Talks with agents, talks with clubs. The personal checks that we want to do on these guys, and there's obviously an opportunity. We've got some spots we need to fill, and we need to create a new exciting future for this football club, and we're excited to do that. Not all work. A time for a bit of recovery as well. A little bit, I think, is important. And certainly there's been some time for reflection. I think that's probably one of my biggest things I've done over the last couple of days. A time for reflection, a time to have some time with the coaching staff to really analyse and go over what we have been doing this season, and what we need to do better going forward, what we need to recruit, how we need to recruit, and what we're losing going out of the building, how we replace that and try and improve. So first few days we've been doing that, having meetings with all the staff members about our roles and responsibilities and what we're doing, and the players' meetings, and I think I need to kind of recharge the batteries and make sure we utilise our efforts the best we can.
Really interesting, isn't it? I think especially as supporters, because everyone's a football manager, aren't they? And you think, oh yes, I'd have kept him, or yes, I should have got rid of him.
Yeah, and fans. I mean, that's the great thing about being a fan, isn't it? That's how you get involved. Everyone's got their opinions or ideas about how they should be doing things, but the football manager is the one who has all the information about absolutely everything. So it was interesting to hear Matt talking there about Lewis Wing wanting to test himself at a high level at the end of his contract. That's his decision, and we wish him the very best. Nick Freeman was offered a contract but wanted to be much more of a first team starter somewhere, and that's a tough decision for him to make. And we're really going to miss Nick on the pitch, of course, but off the pitch too. A fabulous character, and has been around it for many years, and we'll really miss his influence. And also, he's the team DJ, as we've heard this year on Wanderers TV. So another role that needs to be filled over the summer as well. But a lot of the younger players are moving on. That's the nature of the B team as well, or the development squad. So it's always a time of change, but with change comes opportunity and fresh starts and fresh faces. So very much looking forward to seeing what the gaffer does in the next couple of months.
As you say, really interesting to see what he's kind of building, if you like, and his philosophy and some of the players that he brings in as well.
Yeah, exactly that. It's going to be, will it be a completely different style? What's he going to go with, to complement the core of the team, which we must remember is there already in Max Striek, Ryan Tafazoli. Great news that he's here for next season as well. Chris Farino, Josh Scowen, Sam Vokes up top. That's just the spine of the team. There's still a lot of familiar faces around, of course, but there are gaps now that need to be filled. It'll be interesting to see what sort of player Matt goes for, whether he goes for younger players to complement some of the experience in the squad already, and what sort of players he brings in terms of their physique, their style. Everything else, it's all up there for us to discover in the summer. So, we'll probably have a couple of weeks off in terms of coverage and stuff like that whilst things start to happen. But as and when things happen, we'll be getting information out as soon as we can.
And it feels appropriate to ask, especially at this time of year, to kind of reflect and your own sort of highlights of what's happened on the pitch, because I think, and around the club generally, because you forget what's happened, don't you, over the season.
Yeah, it's been an enormously long season. It seems like ages ago that it all kicked off at the very end of July. Remember, it was an early kickoff because of the World Cup, and we had the heat wave to contend with initially. We had the amazing cold spell as well during winter, and they're just the weather things that we've had to deal with. The club's had to deal with so much in this last season. Not least the manager leaving, Matt Bloomfield coming in, Alfie Mawson coming back and then having to retire after 21 games. Anish Vermetti playing fantastically well and attracting interest as we knew that he would, and then leaving on the final day of the window. These are all things that have been big tests for Wycombe. Injuries happen every season, of course they do, but it seemed that the timing of the injuries was particularly cruel on Wycombe this year. And to adapt to all of that and finish in the position that Wycombe did at the end of the season in what was an incredibly tough League One, I think was a good campaign. And you've only got to look what happened to MK Dons to realise just how tough League One is.
I'm surprised you haven't mentioned the role of the bird scarer and what an important part that's played this season.
And I'm delighted to say it's back in situ, and will be for the coming months. Pitch will be reskinned again, and scarified and relayed, and which means the bird scarer really comes into its own once more. To keep off all the wildlife of which we have an abundant amount at the bottom of Hill Bottom Road, to give the pitch the very best chance. So I'm doing this at home today, so you won't hear the bird scarer, but you will probably be hearing it in pre-season. So brace yourself.
So what would be your overall kind of assessment, if you like, of the season and what fans should be kind of looking forward to into the new campaign?
It's kind of two edges to this, really. I think initially, of course, there's disappointment because of what's happened in the very recent history of Wycombe Wanderers and fans expecting to be in that top six in League One and pushing for the Championship, because that's what we've been accustomed to in the last 3 or 4 years. But obviously, as we've said now, we've covered why that didn't happen. But also, an element of pride over the season as well, because of things that happened, some of the games that we've beaten, the teams that we've beaten along the way, some of the fantastic goals that have been scored, and the way the club has dealt with many things that have happened to it in the last 10 months. And that's what being a football fan is all about, I guess, is riding the waves of all of that. disappointment in one hand, but an immense amount of pride with the other. And then I guess a lot of excitement already looking towards next season and having that benefit now of having a proper break and a proper pre-season to hit the ground running next season, hopefully.
Well, must say a huge thank you both to yourself for being ever present on this show. It's been fantastic to speak to you each week, and also for your commentary as well. It's been brilliant to feature that on the station this season as well.
No, thank you very much, Colin, and big thanks equally to all you guys at Wycombe Sound for your support and coverage of the club. You know, it's a huge part of the community, as is Wycombe Wanderers, and it's great that we can all come together and help spread the word of the Chair Boys. So yeah, looking forward to next season doing that as well.
Phil Catchpole, everyone.
Who?
Yeah, sorry. Really brilliant to have him on the show each week, and of course our usual reminder that you can get the full chat with Matt. That was catchy, wasn't it? On Wanderers TV and also on the Wycombe Wanderers website now as well.
Yes, it's everywhere.
Luke joins us.
Hello. Good evening.
Thank you.
Afternoon or morning.
We'll do a proper thank yous later. But
I feel like at any point in this show we could just go off and thank you everybody 4 times.
Yeah, but big thank you to you.
No, a big thank you to you.
I'll stop it.
Okay.
So you went on the fun bus on Sunday.
The Wilshaw Fun Bus, yes, which was lots of fun. It was good. It was a very early start, obviously, because of the fact it was a 12 o'clock kickoff. But yeah, it was nice to be at an away game because normally I'm in the studio. But as it was a Sunday, I was allowed out, so I could go and enjoy an away day, which was good fun. It was great doing the pre-match show at Fratton Park as well, and yeah, it was really good. And of course, the Spanish fans were excellent; they were just brilliant.
Speaking of which,
yes,
Nigel, who was on location for us as well,
who's been brilliant as well.
Yes, big thank you to Nigel. Spoke to Ile, one of the Media Ingles team.
See,
it was a year ago. We were at Wycombe for the last match of the season, regular season, against Sheffield Wednesday, and then of course, there were 100 of us for the last match last season, and 250 for the match at Wembley, the playoff final, and today more than 100 of our fans, and of course Wycombe fans, at Fratton Park in our first away game with our community, and has been really fun. It has been an amazing experience.
Yeah, I certainly would say that you brought a little bit of colour and party atmosphere to the ground today. I don't think the Portsmouth fans actually knew what to make of you, to be fair.
In fact, that was something that we were talking about, because we were thinking, I'm not sure Portsmouth fans are understanding what's happening here. I mean, 100 guys from Spain in a League One game. I mean, they must be like, what's happening here? And it has been great. You know, the amazing thing is that all the people that come with us, of course, they are already Wycombe fans because it's our unofficial club. Let's say, let's put it this way, and they all always bring this energy. They want to have fun, you know, at football, which is amazing because they are coming with this energy. You know, let's have fun. It doesn't matter the result. It doesn't matter if we are playing for something or not. Just have fun at football.
Yeah, I must admit it was quite interesting because I was waiting at the steps, waiting for you guys to come up, and one of the stewards came down and she said, I think you've forgotten all the Spanish fans who are in there and still partying. So yeah, I think you certainly made an impression on Portsmouth, and to be fair, just before the game I met up with a couple of Portsmouth fans in a cafe not far from the ground, and I had to explain to them what was going to happen today, and I said, when you see all the scarves, you'll know that they're our Spanish fans, and I said they're going to make this place rock.
It has been amazing. You know, our goal today, since we were not playing for a result, our goal today was to make that was our goal, to make an impression on the home fans. That was our goal, to make an impression on Wycombe fans and on Portsmouth fans. Because another thing that we want to encourage with these experiences is to close a relationship with Wycombe fans.
Yeah,
traditional Wycombe fans. And today there were a couple of moments. I think it was really nice for me, where they started singing. Well, of course they joined all the time, and we joined all the time. And there were a couple of moments when they started to sing and in a way recognize what we were doing, because for all these guys it's a huge effort. They are paying more than €300 to come here, so it's an effort. effort to come here.
Yeah.
So financially, and it's nice that the Wycombe fans recognise this effort they are doing to come and support the club. I remember talking to some fans before the game. It was an FA Cup match against Tranmere Rovers.
Yeah.
In fact, we lost. I remember talking to some fans before the game. What makes Wycombe Wanderers special? That was the question we were asking the fans, and almost all of them said, you know what, this is a family club. We really value that the club is close to the community, and that's something that all of them said, and that was the first moment that we started to fall in love with the club.
The Wycombe Wanderers worldwide phenomenon has reached Spain.
And the moon, by the sounds of that as well.
Sounds like somewhere a lot further away too. That was actually recorded in Portsmouth.
It was. I listened back going, why didn't Nigel record this on the moon or something? No, it was great to see the Spanish fans as well. And of course, Cello was there as well, who's a fan favourite of the fans, who had travelled from Tel Aviv, I think, which is where he's studying at the moment to get here. So yeah, it was great there, and great to see everybody down there.
And something that Ilya mentioned as well, it'd be brilliant if we can get to go and play in Spain as perhaps as a pre-season friendly, and there'll be even more a Spanish contingent, and also I'm sure many Wycombe fans would like to go to that as well.
Yeah, I think there are thoughts of even just going to see a Spanish football team play at some point. Obviously that might, we've got to try and work with planning and air flying stuff, but if they can do it, there is nothing stopping us.
Absolutely. Still to come on this week's final Wycombe Wanderers show.
We could do the show from there.
Oh, that would be good.
That would be great.
Who do we contact about that?
That's Jersey and Spain we've got lined up for shows.
Absolutely. Oh, that's fantastic. Great thinking.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, go and work on that. Jack Grimmer, we'll hear from him. We'll hear from Wycombe Wanderers women representatives as well. And lots more to come as well here at Wycombe Sound.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
One of the highlights of this season's Wycombe Wanderers Show, and in fact the previous two series as well, has been the opportunity to speak to many ex-players, thanks to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association. Some brilliant eras covered, some fantastic achievements by many brilliant characters, as I'm sure you'll know if you've tuned in. Also, a couple of them, or more than a couple, took part in the Wycombe Wanderers Warm Hub, with thanks to the Wycombe Wanderers Foundation as well. More on that to come as well. But we've put together a fantastic compilation of the ex-players that we've spoken to this season. I think you'll enjoy this. Some familiar names here.
We trained at Holmer Green, and the winners of the five-a-side on a Friday would get a Kit Kat, and we'd all sit around and have a cup of tea, and even some alcoholic beverages were taken, just one for the winning team on a Friday. So yeah, non-league days, league days, but it was a different sort of era then. It's changed so much in my time.
My first substitute for Wycombe was for John Maskell in goal, who clashed with a centre forward and had to have stitches. Fortunately, the hospital was just across the way, behind his goal actually. But he had to have the stitches put in, and had to be approved that he was not fit to carry on before I came on. So it wasn't easy to get substitutes on the pitch, and there was only one substitute. But we won 4-1 anyway against Barking.
Unfortunately, I didn't drive, so I relied on my wife taking me. I lived in Watford then, to Denham Station, and I used to get the train from Denham and then walk from Wycombe to the ground, walk back to the station, then get a train back to Denham with Dylan Evans used to come with us, and my wife then used to drop him off at his house, which was around Denham somewhere. And, you wouldn't think someone's playing in the FA Cup third round would actually have to need a lift to and from the ground and walking, But it just became too much. So, I left. But, I still did quite well. But it would have been nice to have stayed at Wycombe for 3 or 4 seasons possibly, because they continued to be successful, So it was just an unfortunate situation. The funny thing is, not 2 years later, I learned how to drive, and I ended up driving about 35,000 miles a year for about the next 10 years around the country, on various things for my job.
I came on trial under John Gregory, but he left to go to Aston Villa. Then the trial went cold for a couple of months. Then I came back, it was Neil Smiley at the time, and got the deal over the line. Done my first pre-season, was fit as a fiddle anyway, so that was a breeze sort of thing, and scored a few sort of goals in pre-season, this, that and the other, but yeah, managed to get on the bench and then came on against Bristol City, scored off me backside and got a few games just because of my energy and just because we weren't doing great. I think Bristol Rovers that got us the first point of the season, and I think that was after 5 games. So, that's how bad we were doing as a squad, and then the rest is history, really, after Laurie Sanchez and Terry Gibson came in.
There was one game in particular when we played Sutton United in the second trophy run in '93, and we'd lost the first game at Adams Park. I think it was 3-2, which was a bit of a shock. We were kind of expected to win comfortably. Sutton were a league below us, but they were a good team. So we lost it 3-2. So there was a little bit of hoo-ha about that and what we're going to do. Are we not going to get to the final? So there was a lot of soul searching went on, as we had to wait 1 or 2 weeks for the replay, for the second leg. So we went down to Sutton, just, 1 goal down, and they're at home. So we were up against it. But I remember we speak about it fairly regularly, but it was the feeling in the dressing room just before we went out was so powerful. Everyone was in such a zone because Martin Neal had really whipped us up, and he knew. He says when said afterwards, I knew we were going to win. I think we all did when we went out. We were in such a frame of mind, and we went out and obviously won convincingly. I think it was 4-0. But that feeling in the dressing room before the game, it was a feeling I didn't experience loads of times throughout my career. It was such an incredible experience.
Peter Sotheby, we both played for Oxford University, and we both played in the Blues team when we were at Wycombe. And I remember Peter coming, and he was a player. He went on to Blackpool, didn't he, as a pro, and I think he ended up a long time as youth team coach at Spurs. We had a reunion, and Oxford University Blues team, about 10 years ago or something. At that time, he was in charge of the Spurs youth team, I think. So he made a good career in football. Very, very good player. Very mobile. Him and John Delaney, he was the heart of the defence. Tall, strong, no nonsense centre half, and then he had Peter sort of sweeping round behind him, good on the ball, mobile. They made a very good combination in the centre of the defence.
It was quite a surprise, although I had been playing in some FA team selections. The Football Association playing somebody like Loughborough College, playing places like that, and so I was told that I was on the short list for it anyway, which was a wonderful surprise when it was, but it was purely only playing for Wycombe that inspired me.
I only had 2.5 seasons there and 3 managers, which you don't expect us to have in 2.5 seasons, but it is what it is. And each manager has his own interests in how he wants to play and the squad he wants to have. So it was, but no, I really enjoyed the time down there. It was a lovely part of the world. We had a few decent night outs with the boys. Yeah, it was great for me.
To me, you had to work hard to get the results, and that's what we done. And initially, I think it came a little bit hard to some of the players. I remember the first night pre-season, Mick split the lads up into 3 groups, gave me the main group of the first team. So we done our warm-up, which lasted about 35-40 minutes. And when Mick blew the whistle to all come in, I remember one player saying, well, I shan't say exactly what he said, but he sort of said, who the hell you got here, Mick? Because I think that's the hardest they trained, and that was only the warm-up. But it paid off. And I ain't saying that was all due to me winning the league, but I think, as I say, you've got to work hard.
We did okay. The following season, after getting promotion and winning the Cup, we got to the 3rd round of the FA Cup. And I'm not sure, but I think I was only the 3rd manager in the history of the club to get the team to the 3rd round of the FA Cup. I know Brian Lee did it with the Middlesbrough game, and I can't remember the other time, but unfortunately that coincided with me being promoted in my full-time job, because all the time I was at Wycombe Wanderers, it was a part-time job. It wasn't a full-time employment like it would be now.
It was nice to score goals and to play with Tony Horseman, Paul Bates, people like that, Sammy, Lenny. It was great, and to play in front of your home crowd. And my nan used to come. She was about 75 then, I think. She used to come and have a little look, and she was Wycombe mad, Wycombe Wanderers mad. And obviously, as I say, my dad played for them as well, and my brother played in the reserves for them, and then he turned pro at QPR. So all in all, it was a fantastic. From 17 to 20, when I turned pro, I had 3 great years there, and it sticks out vividly in my memory, as I say.
I can't replicate that bond, that changing room. Listen, at the moment, I don't miss the game, I don't miss the pounding. Well, my knee doesn't miss that anyway, but I miss the changing room. Listen, I miss the togetherness. I miss getting up and knowing the role I played, and that's what I had to learn as an individual, and I think people have to adapt in life. I wasn't playing as many minutes, but I knew my role was, to be there. I'd been there and I'd done it, so certain emotions to be able to handle.
The people there were so exceptional, and not just the players, but the staff and the bar staff. I remember in the old clubhouse, I have real fond memories of Jock Shepherd, who was the groundsman there, who looked after me really when I first came to Wycombe. He took me to the theatre in Windsor, and just some wonderful people who I've lost contact with most of them, but occasionally I have contact with John Bignell, Peter Sutterby, because I was at university with Peter as well, one of the best players I've ever played with. So we have occasional contact. But it was just the atmosphere, and then I think what accentuated it was the Wycombe Wanderers Past Players organisation, and I got an email from them years ago now, and I look forward, Colin, so much to their emails, the newsletters.
I think you've had the stories before from Keith Samuels and Keith Searle and myself that there are 6 of us who played in the 60s and early 70s that still play golf together twice a week. We play regularly every week, so we've kept in touch. And both myself, Keith Samuels, are both on the ex-players committee. We're still heavily involved, and it's great to be part of the family club.
Brian expected the game to be played in a certain way. In terms of your behaviour, it wasn't so much about coaching you, but those lads, Dennis Allen and Terry Payne, tried to coach you, but you knew your game, if you know what I mean. I felt I knew my game. I didn't need coaching. That sounds arrogant. I don't mean it to sound like that, but they didn't let you express, didn't let you play the way you sort of grew up to play, kind of thing. So in many ways, I think coaching gets rid of people's natural ability sometimes. But Brian just let you play.
Peter Sutterby was the academy manager when I first went to Tottenham as a young player at 16, and he was a brilliant person and someone that was always giving great advice and was a real support for me and all the players at that time. And then I actually saw Peter when I was playing at Wycombe, and he came back as part of the ex-players association, and a great guy. And yes, it's like quite similar now that I've now gone back to Spurs as a coach, and yes, we've got those Wycombe connections, and yes, it's similar how that's happened.
He was nuts, but I mean, in such a good way. Like you say, it was so positive. And I always remember every time he would come in the morning, he would do a big scream, and it would just make everyone smile, make everyone sort of posture up a bit and know, right, you're in here to work. Again, I used to always remember he wouldn't train every day because he was in his 40s at the time. But in the gym, oh my God, he was an absolute animal. Like I said, he just brought the standard up massively.
Well, I'm glad I played when I did, because I didn't kick with my left foot. Terrible. But then, because we had 5 forwards, used all the pitch, so you had nobody, like all 10 went over together or whatever, or 20, so I could get it onto my right foot. But if I'd have had a left foot, I'd have been even better. But if I run a team now, there are people in all professional, all levels, that are only one-footed. But if I run a team, they wouldn't. Pre-season, I'd have them in the gym and they'd play with 2 feet. I've got 2 grandsons, one's still playing it, and he's kicking with both feet because I made him do it.
The cup run after that was just sensational. I don't think it would ever be matched again for what we achieved that season. With the injuries that we had, players that we were signing, obviously Roy Essendo and that situation. You know, we couldn't have been in a worse situation to reach a semi-final, and we managed to do it. But obviously that's credit to the lads. But once again, you know, it was even the injured ones on the sidelines. We was all right behind everybody, so we all stuck together, and it was a group effort, you know.
I come off away from, I think it was Luton, and it didn't go too well there, and obviously as I said, that I joined a group of players, a lot older players who wanted to prove something, and just like myself, I wanted to prove that I still had the capabilities of playing at that level and winning promotions and scoring goals, and it was just an unbelievable dressing room to be part of, and you don't really get many dressing rooms like that throughout your career, and I was very lucky to have been part of that.
I feel Martin's great strength is his ability to get the best out of players who may not have the right attitude. He has this ability to motivate you when you don't feel like being motivated, and getting the best out of the team to pull together. And I think that's been testimony to his managerial skills, and we've witnessed that through the teams he's managed throughout the decades.
The funny thing about it was as well that the first couple of nights we came down here, people came in and they thought that we'd come down here to have a meal and keep in the warm. Then we explained to them, no, we've just come down here to help out. We're ex-players, and it's something that we wanted to do, you know, to get involved in. And they went, oh, we thought that you were part and parcel of the people that were coming down here, you know, to keep warm and have a meal.
Gary, obviously I'd known for so many years. He was my youth team coach at QPR and then my manager at Aldershot. And obviously, ultimately, that's how the link with Wycombe happened, and Gary was the one manager that I sort of played my best football under, and he always managed to get the best out of me, and I think he done really well when we were there, and the squad that we had, he definitely achieved what he set out to do. The next year in League One wasn't an easy year, but he's a fantastic coach and a good man manager as well.
John Maskell and Tony Horseman, two absolute legends at Wycombe, and they were coming to the end of their careers. So I think I only played one or maybe 2 seasons with both of them. And, you know, our regular back four in my first couple of seasons was Paul Birdseye, Keith Mead, Alan Phillips, Bob Davis. You know, great characters, great players. Midfield, I had Mickey Hollyfield playing in front of me, and there wasn't a better midfield player in the Isthmian League, and not many better midfield players playing football than Mickey Hollyfield and Howard Kennedy. And also in my first season, we had Ian Pearson, who, I know he was only there for a season, but I think he must have scored nearly 40 goals in that first season. He was a terrific player.
It was a terrible weekend, freezing cold, and most of the games were off. But we were playing at Ninian Park, and we drove down there, and we got to about half a mile from the ground, and we were early, and Brian said, "Why don't stop the coach?" He said, "We're all going to get off now, and we'll walk the rest of the way to the ground." And we couldn't believe it, because most of us only had our blazers anyway, and ties and what have you, shirt and ties. And he did that, and it was very out of character. But in actual fact, it was we were all moaning and groaning, but in actual fact, he was right, because we were sat on the coach for quite a long time, and we started off the game unbelievable, and we should have been 2 or 3 up in the first half hour, but we missed a few chances, and then we went on to lose 1-0. But I'll never forget that. It was something that he did just as a one-off, and I always think, when I look back, he was probably right to do it.
Goalies really shouldn't get played here. I mean, if the goalie gets it, then we're not playing so well, I suppose. But yeah, I wouldn't want to. And you just you play the game to do it the best you can. Sometimes you have to be at your best all the time, and sometimes you're not. But the best one is the player's player, or the supporters ones, because they're the people obviously you play with, and then the ones that you watch you.
In the FA Cup, I do actually remember that game because I didn't play. It was against Cardiff. I think somebody mentioned it on a programme the other day. I think John Maskell might have mentioned it, where we were drawn away against Cardiff. Now, just prior to that Cardiff game, I dislocated and fractured my elbow in a game against Hayes at Loakes Park, when a guy called Roy Butler from Hayes, who was a big lad, was Roy. He wasn't as big as some players that have been at Wycombe lately, but he was a big lad.
and he and Peter Spittle, who was in goal that day, not Mask, they both fell on my arm when we went up for a header. So I watched that game.
This club was a perfect foundation for me to go and build a career, and I'm glad I did that. And so to come full circle for me was always something that I'd had in the back of my mind. And I spoke to Gaz a lot, and Blooms and Dobbo, like away from my spells here, and they've always said there's always a door open for you, this, that and the other. And I'm glad I came back here. But yeah, the fans, I love the fans here. It's a great club. It's such a family club, and my family love it here. All of my friends love it here. They love coming here. So for me to see them happy when they come here as well, that adds a little bit more, incentive to do well for the club and to go and enjoy it.
We was playing against Wembley away. I remember I was running down the ring, skipped past a couple of tackles, and one of my colleagues, Paul West, God bless his soul, he was the midfield general, and he was calling for the ball, and I skipped past another player and I didn't pass to him, and I got fouled. So he's come up to me, goes, and he's shouting at me and he said, "Why didn't you pass the ball?" Blah blah blah. And I looked at him and I just pushed him away, and I said, "Look, what is wrong with you? We've got a free kick, and he's still going on." And we had an altercation, and I don't know what was wrong with the referee. For some reason, he had it in for me that day, and he spoke to me earlier regarding something I said to him, and he didn't take too kind. And then had the altercation with Paul, and then he showed me a straight red. And I thought, golly, I was like, I couldn't believe it. And at that moment, I honestly thought my career at Wycombe was finished. I really did.
Steve Brown was always my position, and he helped me hugely from being a young pro to he helped me develop my game. Yeah, no, the position I like to get forward and create, I took all the set plays, which was important to that Wycombe side. Laurie Sanchez at the time put a lot of emphasis on set plays, and I was part of that, and we had a lot of success.
That day, it was just so special, and obviously scoring and getting man of the match in that game was just, I would say, one of the most highlights of my career. It really was. And I remember just sitting in the changing room after, and all of us were like, obviously it's not done, but it's one step closer to playing at Wembley and going to Wembley.
I know he did a lot of building work, and he built things which will be there for years to come. And he built a great relationship with Wycombe Wanderers as well at the same time, and he'll never lose that. While we're all still alive, be able to talk about him, he'll be remembered, which is a great thing to have. It's great to have the memories that we've all got. Absolutely amazing to have those memories. I think you probably have memories of not being successful, but obviously when you are successful as a group, then that's really special.
And of course shorts were considerably shorter then.
Yeah, it was either that or my bum was big, whichever. But yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, some of the baggy ones now, they'd suit me down to the ground. But yeah, they were definitely shorter, for sure.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
It's the final part of the last Wycombe Wanderers show of the season, and like all good Wycombe Wanderers games, we've gone into extra time.
Nice, I like it, it's good.
Absolutely, an extended version of the show. Still to come, we'll hear from Jack Grimmer. I know, very exciting. And we'll have some reflections on the season as well. But first, one of the many people to say thank you to, which we'll do a proper thank you, sort of collection of thank yous at the end, is Wycombe Wanderers Women, who it's been a pleasure to cover this season. The firsts have finished for their campaign, although they have got a game, or an event. They've got a game against Maidenhead and a sponsors and family event happening on Sunday at Burnham. But the day before, the under-18s are involved in the JPL Warriors League Cup final. They're taking on Fulham under-18s, and their coach, Sonny, has been telling us a bit about what it's been like getting to the final.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have expectations, and as a coach, you like to plan ahead, not just the short term, but the long term, and kind of have a plan of where you want to be and what you look like towards the end of the season. But with the under-18s, I've always said it's always about development. So as long as we're developing each week, each month, our individuals and as a team, then for me, those are the successes. And I think this cup run from, say, the quarterfinals against Millwall, beating them, having lost to them twice in the league, and then again, same Watford, didn't have successes in the league against them, but actually turning them over in the semi-final. It just shows that we have progressed and we've grown as a team. So for me, that's been absolutely wonderful.
And what's impressed you most about the performances, especially in the latter stages?
I would say building composure. So in many of our games, and again, when you look at our league games, and again, against those two teams, Millwall and Watford, we've come out well, we've done well, we've started well, and then about 60 minutes in, we have a little bit of a wobble, and things start to fall apart, and then we start to doubt ourselves. So for me, it's kind of working on the composure element with the players and as a team, and kind of highlighting, well, what's your role, what's your responsibility, and the girls have taken that on board. And so again, in the quarterfinals and the semi-finals, they've been tough games, but they've stayed composed. So you can tell they've definitely taken that on board. And then we've reaped the rewards from how they've performed in those games.
It must be so pleasing as well, just to, the things you work on in training being put into practice on the pitch.
Yeah, and again, we're lucky. So, I mean, we've got the wonderful facilities at Burnham and training 2 hours on a Tuesday, 2 hours on a Thursday. It means we can really focus on those individual elements and kind of get those things right. So we're not rushed to try different things. And again, the gaffer has set up a wonderful structure. So be it the first, reserves or the 18th, we all play the same way. We look to play the same formation. So again, they can dip into different environments, but we all have the same philosophy. And so that's worked really well. And that's given us the successes that we're seeing and hopefully going to take away on Saturday.
And what are you expecting from Fulham?
Like I said, we've played them in the league. We very much respect them. They play a lovely, simple game of football, but it's very effective. They're obviously going to be up for it, travelling up from London. We're travelling from Wycombe. The finals are in Cambridgeshire, so we've both got a bit of a journey to get there. It's a 1 p.m. kickoff to midday. I mean, I prefer the early morning games, so you can get stuck into it. But I think Fulham will probably be in the same situation as us, excited for the game. Obviously, they would have seen our results against Millwall and Watford, so hopefully we got them on the back foot a little bit. Can't wait for the game.
And it really sounds like a brilliant opportunity for players at that stage to be involved in a final as well.
It is. I mean, again, the league, for me, it's all about developing the players, their individual gameplay, where the cup run is go out and win. Go and really challenge yourself. So when you reach a final, obviously there's a lot of pressure that's on your shoulders even before that whistle goes for the start of the game. So again, it's just managing that. But again, we're going to say to the girls, listen, you deserve to be here. You've won those games to be on this pitch playing against Fulham in this final. Now go out and enjoy yourself in that game.
So what do you hope they'll have taken away from the experience?
I mean, again, we're talking youngsters, so we've got a mixture of, say, anything from 15-year-olds up to 18-year-olds. So they just need to kind of take all of that on board. And then hopefully a lot of those girls will be moving on. And we do know a number of those girls will be moving into the two senior teams we've got. So they've got to take that experience with them. And again, if the gaffer keeps on doing what he's doing, I'm sure the reserves and the first team will be experiencing their cup games as well. So if those girls with us on Saturday can take that moving forwards, it's just going to help them grow.
And a really great example as well to up-and-coming youngsters who perhaps, in the future want to be involved in the under-18s and can see how successful they are.
Indeed, yeah. And that's something we've been thinking about since March's next season, because, again, it's always good to be prepared moving forwards. And, again, we've got a great team working on our social media, putting a message out there of our successes, who we are, what we do. So we very much hope our success in this cup run will attract other players, because again, we start again in the new season. A lot of our players will move up, won't be eligible to play in the under-18, so we need new, fresh people coming in through the back door. So again, we're kind of open to kind of bring those budding superstars through and into our positive setup.
And I know when we've spoken to you on the show before as well, so rewarding, for yourself and the other coaches to be, working with these players who, imagine what they could sort of go on to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely got some players who could be challenged further going up the ranks, and it's very exciting to kind of see how much they've progressed over the season. And really that's our challenge as a coach, is to see the potential and then unlock it. and with our strong coaching staff, I think we've done really well, and it'd be really interesting to see where a number of our players will be in 2, 3, 5 years' time.
So what would you say are the main strengths of your team going into this game on Saturday?
We're very strong at the back. We have Georgia Price, our captain, who's very calm, very athletic, and very, very solid at the back. We have Jess Fuller sitting in front of the back three, who connects the defence to the midfield and our forward players. And we have Molly Carter, who I know she's going to do something really special on Saturday. I've got something like a gut feeling she's going to do something wonderful. And then we've got Freya Harris, who is rapid and an absolute menace. So she'll make sure the opposition's back line are turning dizzy.
Of course. And I'm sure, as players and also coaching staff as well, that the main emotion just really looking forward to the occasion.
It is, but we've got to keep composed. We've done everything right to date. And again, we can get our grubby paws on that cup, and we fully deserve it. And Christian and myself, Andy, Steve, we're kind of right up for this game, and we're full of confidence in the girls. We know they can do it.
Well, we wish you all the best for Saturday, and look forward to hearing how you get on.
Lovely. Many thanks, Colin.
Great chatting to Sonny. Of course, we had Christian on the show recently as well, and Georgina, who's the captain and daughter of Christian, is obviously, as you can imagine, looking forward to the experience on Saturday as well.
Honestly, just excitement, to be honest with you, because in the league, we weren't doing so well, but like the past couple of games, we've really come together as a team, and we've beat teams at the top of the table and all of that. So I'm honestly just excited about what's to come.
And do you notice your own, personally, but also with the team as well, sort of development throughout the season, both in terms of the league games, but also in these cup games as you've progressed?
Yeah, 100%. I think, obviously, starting this season, we've come through as a brand new team. None of us really knew each other. And now, especially towards the end of the season, we're all really bonding and learning how each other play. And I think we've really gelled as a team, to be honest with you.
So what would you say are the strengths of the side?
Speaking in football terms, I'd say our athleticism. I think we're a very athletic team. I think we've also got quite a lot of young players as well, so obviously they bring something in. But I think we can run quite a lot. We've got all that athleticism and all of that. So I think that's probably one of our main strengths, I would say.
And we were speaking to Sonny, your coach, who said he was really impressed with the composure that the team has developed over the season. That must be something which must be so pleasing for yourselves as well, especially being such a young group.
Yeah, 100%. I think, obviously, at the start of the season, we weren't so used to it. The teams we're playing now, they're very skillful. They're a good team. So, obviously, at the start of the season, we weren't so composed. But now, we're learning how they play. We're matching how they play. We're all very composed. So, I think that is actually something we've really developed together.
And something else which really stands out that Sonny was saying as well, that in your league games it's all about kind of developing your game, but obviously in cup competitions it's more about actual winning, and obviously that's something you've excelled at as well. Yeah,
100%. Obviously in the league, that really was about learning how to match how they play and learning how to adapt to that style. But now, because the season is kind of ending, we have learnt that, and that's really coming through as our performance in the cup final and in the semi-final. In all of these games, you can really see how we have developed as a team.
Does that mean in a way there's the pressure's off, if you like?
Kind of, I guess. I think we've got a lot of pressure going into the cup final because obviously it's the final, but I think seeing how we've played in these past two games, it's going to calm us down as a team because we've seen how we can play, we've seen how we can beat these teams. So I guess there is pressure going into it, but at the same time, there are a lot of things that are calming us down as well.
You were saying excitement is the main emotion, but I guess there's some nerves as well.
Obviously, it's a big game. We've got a lot of our club coming down. We've got a lot of supporters. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure to play well and hopefully win it. But I'd say, personally, it's a lot more excitement. But obviously, there are a lot of nerves in it as well.
And it must help, obviously, that you faced Fulham already this season.
Yeah. So when we played Fulham, that was kind of at the start of the season. But obviously, they're on par with a lot of the teams in our league. So knowing that we've just beat them, not Fulham, but the other teams, knowing we've beat these teams, it's given us confidence going into this game.
And do you feel, obviously, as captain, a lot of extra responsibility, but also, being in defence as well, there's quite a lot of on your shoulders, if you like? Not as much as captain, because our team we'll share the role.
Obviously, I'm captain, but everyone helps balance it out, so that's very nice. But being a defender, that is kind of stressful in these situations. Obviously, our last game against Watford, it was a 4-2 or 4-3, but it's a very goal-heavy game. So there was a lot of pressure on our defence, especially one of their strikers. She was a very, very good player. There's pressure trying to contain that, I guess.
And something else that Sonny said that really stood out was he feels in his gut that Molly's going to do something special. Is that something that you feel as well?
Yeah, Molly's going to get a hat-trick. She's got to bag that for us. But, yeah, I think she'll be on fire.
And you feel preparation's gone well, you're as ready as you can be?
Yeah, we got training tonight, actually, so that'll be our final preparation beforehand. But, yeah, on Tuesday, that was a good session, so I'm feeling quite confident.
Well, it's been brilliant to speak to you. Obviously, wish you all the best for the game, and look forward to hearing how you get on. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Great chat to Georgina, who's the captain of Wycombe Wanderers Women Under 18s, and obviously, as you say, wish them all the best for their League Cup final on Saturday against Fulham Under 18s. Turning our attention back to the men's team, and friend of the show, Jack Grimmer, who's been on a couple of times already. Brilliant to catch up with him, and he was the second participant in No Me No Blues, a brilliant innovation for this season.
Thank you.
Jasper Pattenden was first, and Jack was very pleased to be involved in what has literally been a sort of a cult question, where players are giving their all on a match day, but what supporters really want to know is if they're in a combat situation with small bears or a very large duck, what would they choose?
Yeah, it was a brilliant question. I think it was, it's nice for when you throw questions out to fans, it's nice to get, the sort of obscure questions. And it is something that we discussed in the changing room. And I think Jasper Pattenden picked the big duck, which surprised everyone, I think. So it is a laugh and the joke in the changing room, that question.
But it's been so nice, hasn't it? That, and also the interaction with the fans, obviously, people queuing up to meet you at the shopping centre as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was. I think it was me and GMAC were still blown away by the turnout that day. It was some turnout, and people had waited quite a while as well. So it's always nice, and I think it's the better you can bridge the gap between the fans and the players is always it's never ever a bad thing, and it's always a really good thing to try and be a part of if you can bridge that gap as best you can. And especially nowadays, it's with football after COVID and things the way it was, it's always nice to see fans and actually interact with fans, because I don't take that for granted anymore as I maybe did, because COVID they completely took them away.
And obviously supporters are really keen to see you before and after games as well, and that's really nice as well. They get the chance to perhaps have a picture or.
It is, yeah, and I think since my time at the club, I think I've noticed a slight increase in the fans after the games and wanting, autographs and photos and things. And it's lovely to see, because I think, it shows that we're hopefully going in the right direction, and, the club's building and putting things in place that is encouraging more fans to come, which, is essentially what everyone wants.
And how do you reflect on the season as a whole? It seems, in a way, it seems that the club has sort of done so well in terms of, that there was so many injuries early on, and obviously the manager going.
Yeah, I think it is. It's important. I think we could get bogged down in, especially myself, I looked at the last bit of the season that, probably wasn't good enough and didn't push us over the line. But if you look at the season as a whole, we've had, like you said, so much changes and so much to deal with, and injuries. And I think we had been very lucky the previous season. Big players hadn't been missing for any sort of big length of time. And unfortunately, it happens this season. We've had injuries to players at the wrong time, and big changes on and off the pitch. And, I just think it inevitably led us to just missing out. And, I think the fact that we were even in, challenging it, I think it shows the expectation this club now has, is that, the fans are disappointed with 9th place in League One, which I think is the 4th highest the club's ever been. And I think it's great that now we have this expectation that we want to be up there challenging with the club, with the big clubs in the league.
And what about your own contribution personally? You must be really pleased with the season that you've had.
Yes, I am. I'm happy with how things went. I'm happy, with the sort of the amount of games and the run of games I had and the consistency that I managed to show. I think every player, I think, just wants to be consistent and reliable, for managers. And I think it's something that I managed to sort of nail down this season. And, hopefully seasons to come, I can keep it going.
And as well, it's really nice that you are able to perform in different positions as well. But obviously, right back's your favourite, I guess.
Yeah, it was, something that I just kind of fell into because of injury. And then I think because I managed to play well there, I managed to stay in. And it's, that was probably one of the things I was most chuffed at this season, is that, you are keeping good centre-backs like out of the team, which, is no small feat given the centre-backs that we have at the club. So yeah, it was something nice to play a different position, and you learn more about your game. I think playing different positions, it definitely enhances your knowledge of the game, which I can't complain about at all. It was a good learning curve.
I know fans have lots of different ones, but as a player, is there a particular sort of moment or game that really stands out from this season?
To be honest, that's what makes me think it's a really long season, because we were speaking about the first game all the way back against Burton at the first game of the season, and you forget how long the season is and how grueling it can be at times. And the fans all know more than most, the ones that are travelling away to Exeter early in the season, then they follow us to, like, say, Bristol Rovers, and towards the latter stage of the season, I think the fans that cover all miles that we do, really deserve the shout out, because for me, that's one of the best parts of the season, is seeing the same faces at away games and home games. And I think that's why we probably feel extra gutted when we don't win away from home, because people have spent their hard-earned money to follow you all across the country.
I think especially on a Tuesday night, isn't it? Because especially some of the distances that are involved in League One.
Exactly. Like, I think well played to Plymouth. They managed to get up, but it's a nice feeling not having to go down there again. Morecambe's another one. Nobody wants to see anyone relegated, but the fans are probably thinking Stevenage, Leyton Orient and Northampton coming up from League Two is probably a lot closer, which is nice. So, it's things that we discuss as players, and I'm sure the fans do as well.
And do you all look at, the teams coming down and the teams coming up to League One as well?
Yes, yeah, because, we want to be up there challenging for promotion next season, and it's, predominantly the teams that are coming down from the Championship are the ones that will be fighting to get back there. And you have sort of teams that have done it numerous times in your Blackpools and Wiggins, so they know I think of how to navigate League One a bit better. But Reading will come down with that probably financial mountain that they might have, and like your Derbies and Sheffield Wednesdays and Sunderlands. I think it's it makes League One essentially a mini championship, which is great for the neutral, but it also makes for an interesting season for us, looking at who we're going to be playing.
Does it feel as players such a competitive division? Because it feels like we sort of say this every year, but this year especially, it seems particularly tight, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I think this season's race for the playoffs, I think the top three had done tremendously well to be where they were. I think Sheffield Wednesday managed 96 points and finished third, which is just outstanding for me. The race for the playoffs was tight, and it's all the big clubs that you'd expect to be up there are up there. And, given our recent record, I would put us in the frame as well. Like I said, we have this expectation now, given that we've once managed to achieve it, and then last season get into the playoff final. And although the season didn't finish as we wanted it to this year, I think there has been a lot of work, behind the scenes and things, and how we're wanting to play and how we're wanting to evolve. And I think there was obviously always going to be that transitional period, and it just so happened that it came at a time where we had to win every game, which is a bit unfortunate. So I think there has been some good groundwork put in, and I think all the players were saying that we were all already eager to get back into pre-season and get back to work, and because we have a real chance at sort of creating something special again.
I was going to say, it must feel like, how far, and even in the time you've been at the club, how far the club's come, and as you say, the expectations so high.
Yeah, it's when I first joined the club, it's such a change. It's almost crazy to think about. When I first joined, there was, I think, 9 or 10 signed players, and the aim was to try stay in League One, because I think they'd finished 17th the previous season. And, we then went on and done the unthinkable. And I think now, with having a championship season and followed by a League One playoff final, it does create that expectation, which I think the players already had. But, now you see it with the fans, that they're extra disappointed we didn't make the playoffs, and rightly so. And we want to be one of those clubs that are up there looking for promotion.
And how do you see the game on Sunday? It feels like quite a decent end to the season in a way. Obviously, it would have been good to have ended on a win, but obviously with Lewis's goal as well.
Yeah, exactly. We all know that he's capable of doing something extraordinary like that, and I think it's so interesting to. The one thing I loved about it is that he double checks to see where the keeper is and then does it. So it's so clearly meant. It's ridiculous, and we all know the quality that he has from long distance, and he's been a great asset for us over the season.
So what happens for you as players? After the final game, is that it? You just sort of go your separate ways and have a well-earned break now?
Yeah, we had some meetings and things, and throughout the last week, because for the first time in a long time, we knew that the season was going to be finished after the last game. Normally we're playing right up until the finish, so we just go away and, people have their holidays with their family. And, I've came back to Scotland actually because I didn't manage to get back until since last June, so I've got family and friends to visit and things like that. And you just try rest up as best you can and enjoy the time off because, I think we all know that come pre-season we'll be working extra hard and, trying to put things right from this season.
I hope you have a fantastic break and really appreciate your time.
Top man, mate. Thank you very much.
Pleasure speaking to Jack Grimmer, and we hope he enjoys his summer.
Drinking lots of iron brew.
I believe a trip to Rome and Bali are in order.
I'm going to Rome as well. Maybe I'll see him.
Oh, excellent. And also, we had a little trouble with Jack recalling particularly memorable moments, but we've invited supporters to suggest particular occasions in the season.
Yeah, I've got a couple for you. Morgan said Wingy's goal versus Bolton, although his effort at Pompey, of course, was excellent as well. Suzanne said Max saving a penalty against Oxford at the Kazam. Dan said Mehmeti's last-minute goal against Peterborough at home, Mawson with the ping. The first thing that sprung to Andre's mind was Danny Sender bringing his own heater to the Bill Turnbull gantry, and I remember also there was a heater at one point that only blew out cold air. Which was... isn't
that air conditioning?
Didn't really work as a heater, to be honest. But thank you to everyone that sent something, Kim.
And Nigel's put together a really nice review of the season as well. Enjoy this.
First off, by 2:30pm on the 7th of May 2023, the club had attained its 5th highest league position in its history. Not something to be sniffed at as a base position. We began the season without a first-choice keeper, a key position at any club, following the departure of David Stockdale that summer. A convoluted process to get in a keeper on loan fell through, and we were left blooding a very inexperienced keeper in Tyler Dickinson for the first 5 games of the season. Along with a dearth of available players early doors, we struggled to build momentum and were inconsistent until the beginning of December 2022, when results started to improve significantly, with points being picked up against some of the top sides, such as Portsmouth and Ipswich, and a couple of narrow defeats to others, such as Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday, where the performance probably warranted more than a 0-point score. Later in the January window, we lost Anis Mehmeti to Bristol City in the Championship, a player who in many ways has been our talisman over the last couple of years and also entertained us, the supporters, greatly. Probably our biggest loss this season, however, was that of the class act both on and off the field that is Alfie Mawson. Even though his time with us was cut short as he was forced to hang up his boots. My enduring memory will be this young man falling back in love with the game. And all I've got to say is thank you, Alfie, for coming back home. Our momentum continued into the early part of the year until we lost the gaffer and welcomed back Blooms as the new gaffer on the 23rd of February 2023. From there on into the season end, our performances were inconsistency personified. Don't get me wrong, there were good performances at times which hinted as to what the future might bring, such as the victory at the Memorial Ground, where we played some fabulous passing football at times. But, and it's a huge but, there were some absolutely abject non-Wycombe type performances as well. Burton, MK Dons, Lincoln and Cheltenham jumped to mind. We also saw a couple of worldy goals along the way. Who will forget Dom Gates' strike at Barnsley, and only a few days ago Lewis Wings at Portsmouth. Of course, there was the arrival of big Max Strayak and Major, who both seem to have become fan favourites. Elsewhere, TJ DeBar and Christy Ward have served notice they have a future, and we cannot discount Jasper Pattenden either in that bunch. So what do we need to do in the close season to give us a fighting chance of being a Plymouth rather than an MK Dons next season? In my opinion, we need a number of things, but most important is something we might already have but needs to be drawn out, or we might need to find it. What I'm talking about are real characters in the changing room that have the personality to drag the others with them. I don't think you can underestimate the influence of Bayo and Stocko in this regard, and we miss them probably more than any one of us thought. On the part, we need to reinforce the left-hand side, full-back, wing-back, cover centrally for when we lose Josh, and because of the way he plays, he will undoubtedly get injured at some point in the season. Some creativity in midfield, and finally a minimum 10 to 15 goal a season striker to support and run off Vokesy. We also need to improve Big Max's distribution and kicking. We need to pick out blue shirts and not have it ping back right at us, especially against the better sides in the division. Some will say, so where are we going to get the money from this pricey wish list? But other clubs have looked further down the pyramid and found diamonds, so why can't we?
Great summary from Nigel, thank you very much, and some brilliant moments across the season which you can easily forget. We on last week's show, did we mention last week's show? That the official Away Supporters Association have presented their end of season awards to Josh Scowen, and also Chris Farino got a young player, didn't he?
He did. I was there. It was very good.
And we have some awards of our own.
Yes, our player of the season. Why don't you start with who I think for me it's between three people, but you go first.
Yeah, no, I think at least the person I've selected is probably one of the three that you've said. Obviously, Josh has been fantastic, and
I think he might be player of the season.
Many accolades from all corners and all comers, but I think especially with the goalkeeping shortage situation which we were found with as well, and some brilliant performances and some fantastic clean sheets throughout the season. Max Striek, who also has been brilliant to speak to as well, and great character as well. He's
been absolutely brilliant, and I think Gareth said at the beginning of the season that because of Stocko and Akinfenwa leaving, that they needed some people to fill the sort of the character spot and bring some sort of energy, and I think Max has been brilliant at that, and Major, how could I forget Major, the chair dog, and the other person is who we've spoken to this evening is Jack Grimmer, who's just been brilliant on and off the pitch. He's been playing in different roles, but one of those three, and I think Josh will probably deservedly win player of the season, but I think it's been really, really good.
Well said. Something else which was easy to forget was our predictions from the very first show, which has been pinned up. Well, not really pinned. Has it been pinned?
Yeah.
More sort of stuck.
Blue tacked.
And very well sealed down as well from the sealing team.
Can I open it?
Yeah, go on then. So these were our predictions as to where we thought the club would finish. If you're new to this...
we're never right.
Wait, were you closest last season?
I was closest last time. However...
So the answer is 9th, by the way.
9th. However, this won't be as bad as predictions for another club that's more north of the county, who everyone said would go into the automatic playoffs and have sadly been relegated.
So who's furthest away?
You, by the looks of it. You put second.
Did I?
Yes.
I knew it was optimistic.
I lied. I thought I said 6th, but I didn't. I said 3rd.
Oh, okay.
So, and then Luke H, Rob and Sally said playoffs. Social media said playoffs 63%. 7th till 14th place said 38% of people said that.
Oh, this is a poll on.
Yeah. Nobody said 15th to 20th, and no one said relegation. So well done if you were one of the 38% that said 7th to 14th. You were correct.
We have many people to thank for another brilliant season. Sirius, do you want to do the roll call?
So of course, everybody on and off the pitch at Wycombe Wanderers who have given us amazing access to the club, both during the games and off games and up at the training ground at Marlow Road. A big thank you to all of the players as well, who have just had microphones shoved in their face and asked about bears and ducks and other things. A big thank you to the Coohigs, of course, as well, who have been very supportive since they joined the club as well. A big thank you to the Wycombe Wanderers Foundation, the Trust, Wycombe Wanderers Women as well, the Ex-Players Association, who have been absolutely brilliant throughout the whole season. A big thank you to all of the fans that have got involved. A big thank you to our team. Thank you to you, Colin. Thank you to Rob, to Nigel, to Rebecca, to Craig as well, who's been part of the team, to Sally, and to the technical team here at Wycombe Sound as well, who've got the connection. And a big thank you to Matt Cecil and Phil Catchpole, who have just been amazing as always, and just a brilliant people.
And big thank you to you as well for your excellent producing.
Pay me later.
Who without which the show would sound very different.
Oh. Thank you. Thank you to you too, Colin.
It's been a real pleasure to be able to do it and speak to, as I say, so many great characters, both current and former players as well, and others who are connected with the club as well. It's been real brilliant to have an insight, as a fan, but also to sort of bring the service, if that's the right word. And as mentioned, it's been really great to have the commentary this season as well.
Yeah, that's been slightly daunting. And I think me and Phil will discuss that we have had every single technical issue that we possibly could have, even at Portsmouth. And so to get through that, we haven't missed one. There's not been any huge technical issues that have stopped the show. So I'm very happy that we've got that. And we've got big plans for next season as well. So I just need to find some space on my laptop first.
Absolutely, looking forward to that. I must say a big thank you to David as well, who's got in touch.
Yes, thank you to David, who sent some really nice feedback, saying thank you to Wycombe Sound for the superb Wycombe Wanderers coverage this season, especially to Colin for the excellent Wycombe Wanderers show and his legendary ex-players interview, also to Rob and Luke for the entertaining matchday shows, and to Rebecca for knowing me, knowing you. The coverage has been more Championship than League One. Well done. Thank you very much, David.
Unfortunately, we haven't got time for the negative feedback.
No, what a shame.
No, there hasn't been any. Has there?
No. Don't send it now either.
No, you're too late. Get your negative feedback in for next season.
Send it to roblesporans@wycombesoundtalk.uk.
It's been a pleasure to bring you the show. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Don't forget as well, although you probably won't be listening to this bit if you have, but if you can't listen now, there's a podcast version available.
You're listening to it.
Yeah, this is the podcast version as well. And as you mentioned, if you really enjoyed the highlights of the ex-players, you can catch up with the full episodes as well. Have a fantastic close season. Enjoy pre-season. We'll be back for Series 4 of the Wycombe Wanderers Show in July.
Yeah.
Have a great summer.
Come on, you Blues.